Hello, today's 25th of May 2023. Welcome to this episode of Living Off the Grid. I would like to discuss two topics today. The first one being EV car prices right now during the stagflation of our times, inflation rates that are beyond anything that we have experienced in recent memory, really. And I would like to discuss also about EV charging off the grid and how difficult that is. And first topic, EV prices. I have recently been looking at car prices, EV prices in the last year or so, and they are just stupendously through the roof. They are, in fact, basically stratospheric. They are unimaginably high. They are insanely high right this moment. They are effectively out of reach for the vast majority of the United States population, let alone the rest of the wider world. And, unless you are wealthy, unless you are rich and in very, very good standing economically, you basically cannot and should not buy an AV. Basically, unless you're in very, very healthy and in good financial standing, you shouldn't buy any vehicle unless you really, really need one. And when I say need, I mean it. I mean need one, because the prices are just so outrageous and so brazen, so bold and rash that even if you could, you should not buy a vehicle just so you're not contributing to the problem. Because when prices are too high, and too high is an understatement, you are contributing directly to the problem and keeping the prices high. You are contributing to keeping those prices stratospheric and blown up, super inflated as they are. Don't be part of the problem. Contribute to the solutions, which is keep your money in your wallet if you have the money. If you don't have the money, don't get a loan. Again, unless you need it, with all the emphasis on the definition of need. Because loans are also super expensive right now. They are excruciatingly and painfully expensive. The loan rates, the interest rates for loans are upwards of 7, 8, 9%, I believe, last time I've heard. And that is just criminal. That is just unreasonable and targeting the middle classes and below. It hurts very severely those middle classes and below, the upper middle and the lower middle classes, and of course the classes below that, the economic classes. So you should not take part of any of it. You should turn your back to all of these bold and brazen actions by the economy at large, those that control the economy, the large banks, the government itself, the Fed, as they call it. So you should turn your back on all of these things, all of these entities, give them the finger, and keep your money in your bank account, in your pocket, under your mattress, wherever you keep your money. Keep it there and wait it out. Sit on it. Again, EV prices especially are extremely high, to keep it civil, and more so, I believe, than standard conventional, internal combustion engine cars, because the demand for them is higher. The gas prices are also very high right now. They have been for the past at least year, for the past at least 12 months, probably longer. And that usually ticks up the interest in electric vehicles. They had been high already. Tesla and electric vehicle manufacturers have been doing okay, very good actually, even before this crises that we find ourselves in, this stagflation here in mid 2023, going on for again more than a year. So EV prices now are even higher than before. I recall over a year ago, perhaps about 2 years ago, looking for prices, and for example, the most popular electric vehicle I believe to be still the Tesla Model 3. That vehicle was back in 2019, about $44,000 out the door. The vehicle has gone up, I believe, a few $1,000s since, and that's, considering that it has dropped its price maybe slightly, because I believe it lost its tax credit with the government because of the new law that passed, or at least if it hasn't lost it, it is scheduled to lose it, because this package that would extend it, this $7,500 tax credit from the government for the purchase of those vehicles, would have been extended through the Inflation Reduction Act recently passed, only if the batteries are sourced here in America. And I believe the batteries for the Tesla Model 3 are sourced in Asia, specifically China. And expecting this tax credit to go away, they have reduced their price, yet their prices are a lot more than 2019 prices for those vehicles. I believe to be upward in the almost $50,000 per vehicle. I recall growing up when I was a younger man, thinking of luxury vehicles, as many young people dream of and wish they had, these very expensive and sporty vehicles such as Porsches, such as Jaguars, and brand new Corvettes and Camaros. And I remember looking at the prices for these vehicles back then in the upper 30s and perhaps low $40,000, and that was back in the mid to late 90s. An exuberant amount of money, something that I can only dream of having to pay for such a vehicle. Yet, fast forward, 20 years or so, 15, 18 years or so, and talking about a $40,000 vehicle, we're talking about an average 4-door family Honda, Toyota, Hyundai, or a Nissan or a Ford, or a four-door, smaller, middle of the road quality, middle of the road everything, Chevrolet, or a Dodge, and very basic, perhaps the base model with the least amount of features. That's what you're going to get with $40,000 in your pocket. So we have gone in 15 to 20 years from luxury vehicles being worth about $40,000 to very middle of the road quality family sedans going for about that much, and you have to fight to get that price. Fight tooth and nail, because a lot of these dealerships, they have marked up their inventory to the point where you may not even be able to get that for $40,000. You may have to cough up a little more, maybe 43, 44, 45, even more than that, if they convince you of the useless features that they often want to tack on, like a spray-on protection in your seats for about $2,000 or so. I mean, these people are brazen. These dealerships and their salespeople are bold, brazen, and rash when it comes to trying to squeeze out every dime out of you that you really don't need to pay. But going back to my main point, EV prices are ridiculous, to say the least. Used EVs, I have taken a look at some in car lots. For example, at a nearby CarMax I have around here, to keep my finger on the pulse for EV car prices, and they are just as insane for used late model car prices. 2018, 2019 Tesla Model 3s are going for $50,000 and up. They have a ridiculously low amount of mileage for the year. These vehicles mostly all do, in these CarMax car lots, which is very suspicious. How a 2018 here in 2023, talking about almost 5 years or more later, it's got 23,000 miles, 16,000 miles, 30,000 miles. That is just insanity for a 5-year-old vehicle. No matter who kept it in their garage for how long, 20,000+ miles, between 20 and 30,000 miles is the amount of mileage that most people put within 2 years. Some people put that almost a little over a year. I do a reasonable amount of driving right this moment, and on average I have put on my vehicle, I put about 25,000 miles per year. And again, I do a reasonable amount of driving, not really interstate, but I do regional driving because of my current occupation. And these vehicles, and this is with 3.5 years, this is in 3.5 years I have put upwards of 88,000 miles on a vehicle I'm driving. And it is beyond belief that a 5-year-old vehicle could have between 20 and 30,000 miles. It's just insanity, and this is routinely the case. Sometimes you see vehicles with 15,000 miles, and I can make a whole new entire podcast on this issue of these dealerships fudging with the mileage on vehicles. This is something that is reported. It is known that people and dealerships engage in this illegal and immoral, just, it's deceiving practice where you are being sold a vehicle with a lot more mileage than what is showing. You are being deceived into paying more because, of course, you will be paying more for a vehicle with less mileage. It has had less wear and tear. It is obvious that the less mileage, you think it would have less wear and tear. Of course, unless that mileage has been fudged with. And I believe the owners of these vehicles, there may be third parties, there may be hitmen that are hired for doing these. The dealership, of course, is not gonna get their hands dirty and engage in an operation to fudge with mileage for vehicles themselves. Of course, they're going to purchase the vehicle with the low mileage already, and perhaps they hint at vehicle owners of taking the vehicle to a certain spot, or have a certain technician do a certain operation on their vehicle before they buy the vehicle from them. I'm sure this is what goes on. So leaving that alone for the moment, EV prices are again upward of $50,000. Even EVs other than Teslas. Teslas are known to be the more popular, the more sought after, the most demanded vehicles, electric vehicles right now, at least here in the US, in this area, to my knowledge, to my estimation, to what I've seen and read. And also, this is backed up statistically. Teslas are the best sold EV right now, even challenging many of the sales for conventional vehicles. So this is beyond the fact, and the prices for those are again upward of $50,000 for a 2, 3, even 4-year-old Tesla. Of course, with lower mileage, this and that, very good condition. When the MSRP, the manufacturer's recommended price for the vehicle, is below that, that'll tell you what these people are marking their vehicle prices to, and they are getting the demand. These vehicles are moving. These vehicles are selling above and beyond what a new MSRP vehicle is, because dealerships even will mark up. They can and will mark up their prices from MSRP. I'm sure even Tesla will do this directly from Tesla. And the wait period also is a factor, where you have to be on a waiting line for a very long time, from months to perhaps over a year. I have to verify this, but this has been what I have seen, especially lately, within the past year or so. Production is down. They have scaled back production, many of these manufacturers, on purpose, by design, because they want to keep their prices up, even though the inflation, the chip shortage is waning. Then some of the signs, some of the effects of the inflation, the stagflation, is also apparently waning. These people are already drunk on their high and exuberant and bloated incomes and profits, and they want to keep that going as long as they can, Many of them have taken the very deceptive and dishonest action of just scaling back their production so they can create a shortage of sorts, a shortage, an artificial shortage, so they can keep the prices up. When something is rare, the value and the value goes up as the demand stays the same or even increases. So I also saw an electric vehicle called the EV6 from Kia, and this vehicle was upward of $55,000. I believe it was $58,000, somewhere around there, between $55,000 and $58,000. And this was I believe a 1-year-old vehicle. And again, this is insanity. I mean, when it's all said and done, what you're going to pay for this vehicle, taking in consideration the fees, the taxes, and the finance charges that you will pay for the loan that you will get, most likely, to pay for this vehicle, unless you are very wealthy and have all that cash with you and take it to the car dealership, you're going to end up paying a lot more for this let's call it $56,000 vehicle. In fact, when you are set and done for this $56,000 vehicle, on that day that you go pay for it, you're going to walk out with $62,616 less in your bank account, or you're going to have that much in debt. Again, that's $62,600 and change. And that's not all, my friends. You will be paying, and this is with let's say a 4.5. I just calculated it with a 4.5 rates or percentage for your finance rates, your financing cost, which is going to be almost $3,000 the first year for that loan that you're going to pay in finance charges. If you're lucky to get a 4.5%, right now loan rates are a lot more than that. Finance rates, financing, what they call interest rates, are a lot more than that, upward of 7.5, 8.5% in many cases. Let's say it's about 7% in most cases right now, unless you have a A+, very high credit score, credit rating, which half the population, at least half the population, have a low credit rating, to my estimation. The working population, that is, able to get a loan, again, to my estimation. But that's the first year. You're going to pay about $3,000 for that loan, given those very convenient and desirable rates, interest rates. If you get more than that, I mean, heavens, save you. The second year, you're going to pay about that much in finance charges. If you get the 4.5, perhaps about $2,800. The third year, you're going to pay maybe about $2,600. Fourth year, you're going to pay perhaps $2,400, and so on. So add those finance charges to that balance. Perhaps the balance will be slightly less each year, of course. And you get the picture how much you're going to actually pay for this vehicle. I haven't done the math, but to my estimation, I would venture to say that that vehicle is going to cost you well upwards of $75,000 when it's all said and done, when it's all paid for, when it's ironed out, when the dust settles. You're going to be most likely short $75,000. We're talking home prices, folks. This is insanity. This is just outrageous and way out of control. For a small 4-door used electric vehicle. I've seen another electric vehicle, similar size. It was from Volkswagen, the ID4, I believe. Very nice looking vehicle, large, mostly on the crossover style of, between a car and an SUV, I believe. So is the EV6. They're rather spacious. They look very, nice and spacious. Lots of room inside, storage room, etc. But it was again about in the mid 50s, perhaps about the same price, $57,000. And you're going to end up, in the same situation if you get a loan for such vehicle under a very helpful and convenient terms. You're going to end up in the mid-70s when it's all said and done, when the dust settles finally. Years down the road, perhaps almost a decade down the road. So, vehicle prices are very routinely in that price range right now for the new late model vehicles. I'm talking about used vehicles, late model vehicles of some caliber. You're looking at $50,000 and up. I was looking at some, BMWs and Cadillacs and these quote unquote luxury vehicles. You're looking at the mid 50s and up for a used 2 to 3 year old vehicle. I mean, this is just out of sanity. This is just beyond insanity, beyond just dementia. These sellers, business people, these so-called employers are just rash and bold beyond belief. I mean, the situation right now with costs, with greed, with addiction to profits is just, this world is just incomprehensible in many cases, most cases. And the greed of these people is just as unlimited as the universe itself. It is just unbelievable. In these people's minds, I mean, profits are God. Profits are number one. Money and growth, financial growth is their life, is their religion, it is their air and water. These people are so pathetic in their greed. They are so intoxicated in their own corruption. It is just actually sad to see, them dwelling in their own feces of corruption and greed. I just have pity for these people. Abandon all kinds of morality, all kinds of, justice, all kinds of moral high ground. They have just abandoned all kinds of fiction and compassion. What they think, well, whether they do it, consciously or not, is just fuck the poor, fuck the needy, fuck the oppressed, the sidelined, the marginalized, fuck the low income. Forget them. Forget all of them. I don't care about them. All I care about is my profits, my money, my income, my property, my finances, my houses, my cars, my pools, my yachts, my RVs, my vacation, my time, my life, my family, my health, my, you fill in the blank, my this, mine that, mine. All these people think it's about themselves and their own. They have zero regard for others in need, the poor, the meek, the sick, the low income, the disadvantaged, the oppressed, the abused, the depressed. They don't give a damn, a rat's ass. They don't give a fuck about any of it. Any of those people. People that are suffering in despair, poverty, abuse, low income, low or no social power, no social status. They are suffering under this stagflation, this runaway inflation that's gripping the nation, gripping the world, especially those outside of the U.S. People are struggling to pay their rents, to pay for their fuel, to pay for their food. And these people are just squeezing non-stop. And they just don't care. Just like Melania Trump had in her vest one time when she went to go visit, after a visit to the border. She had it emblazoned in her overcoat. I just don't care. This is the sentiment of these people, of these rich, wealthy, corrupt, greedy, nasty, and just, smothered in feces individuals that they just don't care. They turn a blind eye. They ignore all kinds of facts that are over and over to be true, proven, shown, demonstrated. They just turn their backs on it, plug their ears, cover their nose, cover their eyes, and keep going. Keep just trying to make money with their money. Because that's all that wealthy people do once they get to a certain critical mass, certain level, which is not high, by the way. I'm talking about maybe a few $100,000, and you are at the level where you can make money from your money very easily, quickly, rapidly, efficiently. Once you have enough money to hire a financial advisor, professional that plays with the little bit of money that you may have, and you have enough money to pay that individual, it takes off from there. It doesn't take much, folks, here in America to begin to make money from money. Play with accounts, with mutual funds, with certificates of deposits, with high yield savings accounts to play with the stock market, with 401k accounts, with insurance monies. Life insurance is a big source of money for a lot of people. They buy out their life insurances early and get thousands and hundreds of thousands, in some instances millions. When they get older, they have a life insurance for 20 years that they've been paying into, and then they turn around and buy it from the insurance company, so the insurance company doesn't have to pay it out at death. They buy it at a advanced age, perhaps past your mid-60s. You turn around, buy out your life insurance, and cash in for a few $100,000. Put it in your bank account, get you a bunch of property, RVs, etc., lands, or just pass it down to your kids. That's what these people do. They play with the stock market, and they make money that way. Make money with money. This is evil, folks. This is pathetic. This is, the epitome of immorality, the epitome of everything that we know to be wrong with the world is embodied and played around with copiously by the rich and powerful. The rich and powerful are swimming in, the sweat of the poor. They are swimming and horseback riding on the backs of the poor, the middle class, the lower middle classes. They take 6-month-long vacations, 3-month-long vacations. They take international trips on the backs of their workers, their employees that stay back, caring, quote unquote, caring for their businesses. They wouldn't be able to take 3 months off trips to Brazil or Australia, my friends, if it wasn't for the work of those that stay behind, that take very little or no vacation throughout the year, so they can keep up with the boss's business 24/7. So going back to my main point, I understand I did go off on a tangent there. Electric vehicles are just insane right now with the prices. Stay out of them. Weather the storm, hunker down, my friends, and just keep your money in your pockets, however little it may be. Right now, if you spend the money, that money, you're going to lose a lot of money when you don't have to. If you weather the storm, you can easily get the same or more in return if you wait it out when the prices come back down to earth. Because right now, you're going to, with the little bit of money you have, your money has not been inflated, my friends. Everything, all the other things being for sale are not your money. Your money has lost value. So keep it in the bank until it gains value back. If you spend a whole bunch of your money with the small amount, with the diminished amount of value that it now has, you're going to be losing double. Keep the money in the bank, wait for it to gain value, and then, perhaps there will be a downturn where prices are going to get lower, perhaps even crash in some cases. Some instances or some industries, the prices may crash, such as it did with the prices of eggs just recently. They are very low right now, a lot lower than the regular prices of months ago. And if you could recall, only weeks ago, the egg prices were through the roof. When something is inflated, there's a good chance it's going to suddenly and very abruptly get deflated. It may burst, as they call it, explode, and the bubble may burst, and it may come down crashing. The prices may come down crashing. So to continue on my next topic about vehicles, electric vehicles, and the difficulties of charging those electric vehicles off the grid. First of all, electric vehicles take AC current, alternating current, for charging. That is, for the most part, when charging at a normal rate or at a thorough and medium rate, not fast charging, turbocharging as they call it, supercharging, nothing like that. It's just the charging rate that you would charge at a home residential area. I believe sometimes they call it level 1 or level 2 charging, which is only a few amps or amperes of AC current, and that makes it demanding on any off-grid system. Not only the fact that it's AC, that it's needed, but also the fact that it takes so many amps of current to charge these vehicles. A level 2 charging rate for a vehicle, I have made that observation, and it is about 1500 watts, and this is about from 8 to 12 more or less amperes, which is quite high, sustained for hours. This needs to be sustained for 3, 4, 5, even 6 hours at a time, depending on the battery size, even longer than that if you have a car with long range batteries. And that type of voltage and amperes takes a lot of current, therefore takes large equipment size when it comes to watts and rating, electrical rating, and it needs to be a pure sine wave equipment or inverter that's involved, taking that DC charge from your batteries, inverting it into a pure sine wave AC, and then passing that along to your vehicle's charger. It takes a lot of equipment size in rated watts. You want it to be at least double of what your peak watts draw is. So you want to have at least a 3,000 watt pure sine wave inverter. That's a very high quality. You want to have among the better ones. That way you're not putting faulty current into your vehicle and causing perhaps some problems with your vehicle's charger. You don't want to damage your vehicle's charger in any way by having it draw faulty current. So you want a very high quality inverter. These inverters could be quite expensive when when we're talking about 2,000 watts and up, 3,000 watts. You could get quite expensive. If you want to use that same inverter to cover other loads, then it needs to be even larger than 3,000. So you want to have really an inverter that's dedicated only for charging your EV if you have an off-grid EV charging station. So not only the inverter needs to be quite beefy and capable, but your battery, especially your battery, needs to be also just as capable, if not more, than your inverter. Needs to be a battery that it's at least 1.5 times larger than the battery in your vehicle. So let's say your vehicle has a 40 kilowatt hour battery in a vehicle, which is happens to be the size of the standard Nissan Leaf battery of the 2022, 2023 Nissan Leaf has a 40 kilowatt hour battery. You want to have about 1.5 times that. So you want to have about a 60 kilowatt hour battery or bigger, so that you can charge that battery, your 40 kilowatt hour battery, with the larger battery, with the 60 kilowatt hour battery, because you want to have that reserve charge in the bigger battery, that 20 kilowatt hours. It's a reserve charge that you should not really use. And also, the chemistry, I am not an expert in the chemistry of these batteries, these lithium ion batteries, but I am quite sure that you want to have the amperage to push that voltage out, or the other way around. You want to have the voltage to push the amperage out available in the battery. That means that you have to have a larger charge in the battery that is used for charging. So you need to have a quite large battery. These batteries are, again, lithium ion for the most part, and they are quite expensive. Larger batteries, of course, are going to be much more expensive than smaller batteries. And these batteries could range from a few thousand dollars to a few tens of thousands of dollars. They are quite expensive. And the combined cost between the inverter and the battery could be prohibitive for a lot of people, perhaps most people that that are of working age here in the Americas. Of course, there will be plenty of people that could afford these technologies. However, you need to be made aware of this initial large cost or investment. I would think that you would have to spend at least, from $10,000 and up on initial investment for a very modest minimum basic system to charge an electric vehicle. if you go up in quality, up in capability from basic, you're looking at adding thousands of dollars more to that. Going from 15 to 20, perhaps 25 or $30,000 for a charging system. So once you get your charging system, you need to have a way to replenish this charging system. Remember, we're talking off the grid. Off the grid means off the utility grid, so there will be no utility connection either to your charging, to your vehicle, or to the charging system that you use. So you need to replenish the charge that battery uses or has lost during recharging your vehicle with an alternative energy. And solar is the number one choice. It is the most cost effective and reliable right now. Here in the Americas, at least, most of the states in the United States do provide varying degrees of insolation or hours of sunlight. Of course, some states have a lot more than others. So you need to consider the amount of sunlight that your area gets, or insolation, and you need to have someone, a specialist, or you, if you are familiar or capable of doing this type of design, you will need to design the system with the correct size of panels, or if you go with wind, the correct size of a wind turbine, so you can recharge the solar panel system. So what you want to do is have enough solar panel energy or solar panel capacity to charge the battery in a quick or efficient manner, to where it's not going to take many weeks to recharge the battery. You want it to ideally charge within 1 day. Maybe you may be able to get away with recharging that battery in 2 days, but within 24 hours if possible. That would make the system quite large in most instances. That would make the array that would be required to recharge that battery very large in most instances, again, depending on the size of the panel, the efficiency and capability of the panel. Panels are also rated in watts mainly. So these solar panels and this array could range again from the basic, from the minimum for a few $1,000s, $2,000 to $3,000, to the adequate and beyond, and the very efficient, the very quality, the very optimal, that could be $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 for the array. If you tack on installation for all of these equipments, the entire system, you are easily looking at additional thousands of dollars, perhaps approaching $6,000, $7,000, and $8,000 of installation costs today, right now as I speak. And I'm speaking from experience, from the exposure that I've had in the industry for years now, and these are of course estimations that could easily change depending on many factors: size of equipment, rating of equipment, quality of equipment, make of equipment, location, where in the world you are located, availability of services, availability of equipment, economic pressures, economic changes, economic factors. I mean, there's a repertoire of factors that will impact these estimates, of course, but they are, I believe, quite accurate and quite close to the real, what you really would pay for these equipment and the installation. So you're looking at an estimated range of $7,000-8,000 to upwards of $40,000 for a system of charging your electric vehicle off the grid. So it's a quite significant investment for most people. Of course, there's going to be exceptions. There's going to be very wealthy individuals, millionaires, and the such that, of course, are not going to consider this as a very large investment. But for the average American, for most Americans, let alone people from the rest of the world, this is a very large investment, and it is an investment out of the reach, actually, in fact, out of the reach of perhaps over half of U.S. working populations, let alone non-working or low-income populations. I mean, it's just something that would not even be considered. So, as of right now, as I speak this, the popularity and the availability of off-grid electric vehicle charging stations are very rare. They are a very rare commodity and luxury that very few people even talk about or consider. The most popular, by far, method of charging your vehicle is just to using the grid or your utility provided electricity and just channeling that charge, that current from your panel to a charger, which is basically a sort of disconnect switch with perhaps some circuitry to allow you to charge your vehicle safely. So that's what most people use, if not most, I would say over 99%, if not more than that, of vehicle charger users. So I have began to, I was contemplating building a off-grid charging station when I started doing the math, as I have briefly and very roughly explained. I began to see the absolutely high cost of doing such charging station, and of course that dissuaded me in pursuing this investment for now. However, it is one that is more affordable now than it was just maybe 4 or 5 years ago. I have begun to see battery technologies become more available, especially lithium-ion technologies, batteries that are smart, that are large, that are of high capacity, that could cost, about a dozen thousands of dollars, from $12,000 and up.
and that could be used for charging a vehicle. And although this is a quite large investment, it is one that is, again, a lot more affordable than it used to be, even in recent years. So that is a refreshing development. It is one that hopefully will continue that trend of, having more and more affordable battery prices. Inverter and panel prices have been coming down for over a decade now, quite dramatically. Those, if the trend continues, are going to be even more affordable. The most expensive piece of this system would be the battery, and the batteries, again, are more affordable, although still are quite costly. And you really want it to be a battery that is lithium ion. Anything other than lithium ion, you are risking the system just not working for this kind of application. Again, charging a vehicle does require a lot of inversion, a lot of amperage drawn, 10 or more, perhaps, up to, if you have a higher draw, level 2 charger, it could draw up to 32 amps, I believe, which is quite high for a battery system to maintain and provide on a consistent level, on a consistent basis for hours on end. We're talking about many hours, 6-7 hours of charging at a 30 plus amp level. This is quite demanding for a battery, so it has to be a very, very large battery. And the inverter needs to be a very high quality inverter that keeps up that type of demand consistently. The cabling for such system needs to be very high or large diameter, or large gauge as they call it here in America. So with that, it would be quite expensive. The connections need to be very tight and expensive. So it is a system that it is very possible and it's reachable. It is within reach for many, many people, but it's one that requires, again, a lot of resources, space. You need to have the space for the large amount of panels. We're talking about 20, 30, 40 panels, if not more, with high capacity, high rated panels to be able to charge a battery of that size within a reasonable amount of time. You don't want to spend days or more than 2 days, 3 days, 4 days charging a battery that you need for a vehicle that you need to charge pretty much on a daily basis. If you use that vehicle for, let's say, work, let's say, for any kind of other activity on a regular basis, you want it to be able to charge at home at that charger, which, we plan it to be off-grid within about 24 hours, tops 32 to 40 hours. Within 32 to 40 hours. I mean, you don't want it to be going longer than that. Although you can, some vehicles, especially the high-range vehicles, you probably will not need to charge on a daily basis. But you want to have that peace of mind where if you do, which, there will be a time which you will use all of your range in that vehicle on a day or even less than a day. You want to have that capability to recharge that vehicle within a day, or maybe a little longer, not much longer than 2 days. With that, I'll close this topic. 2 topics I discussed, and those were the just absolutely astronomical prices of electrical vehicles for electric vehicles, and how greed and the speculators of the economy have driven these prices up, and how it is wise. It is very, very smart and wise to not buy a vehicle right now, just to leave those vehicles on the lot, let them just sit there and collect dust and, you know, be exposed to the rain and sunlight for some time. And that way, maybe, just maybe, their owners, the dealerships, the manufacturers will figure out that yes, these vehicles need to move, they need to sell, and the prices need to come down for them to move and sell. So until that happens, until if and when that happens, that just sit tight, hold on to what you've got. The other topic I covered was the high cost and the high resources required to charge your electric vehicle with off-grid technologies. However, having said these technologies to charge vehicles off the grid are becoming more accessible, more affordable, although still pricey. They are more and more within the reach of more and more people, especially here in the US. So look out for these technologies and the prices to keep coming down. Hopefully they will do so, and then you can probably start planning and even investing in these technologies to charge your EV off the grid. Many people may be able to invest in these technologies right now, and I'm here to tell you that these technologies are here. I have seen these systems. I have not seen them directly. I have not put eyes on them, but I have very much read about them, and I am quite familiar with the equipment required to make this happen. And I can tell you very reassuringly that that equipment has been here, has been on the market, and again, it is increasingly being more accessible and affordable. Thank you very much. I hope you liked these topics. If you have any other information on them, or you'd like to add to the conversation, please let me know. Please do so through the website where I post this chat.